I want to say a huge thank you to Ster Kinekor for helping make this video possible. Metal Gear Solid The Phantom Pain is one of the biggest releases this year, and it has a long legacy of games that have come before it. So I decided to do an epic summary of the history of the Metal Gear series, but before I start, let's smash that like button and check out the cards in the top right hand corner of this video for more epic Metal Gear Solid videos. Let's hit it. The original Metal Gear was released in 1987 by Konami on the MSX2 in Japan, but was later then ported to the Famicom. The version released on the MSX2 was Hideo Kojima's first game, but he had nothing to do with the port itself. The game was revolutionary as it was the first game to properly introduce stealth. So if you love stealth games, you owe the entire genre pretty much to Metal Gear. The sequel was released for the MSX2 in 1990 and was called Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. Introducing a more complex storyline is one thing Metal Gear would continue to do in its DNA, but it really evolved the stealth genre it was creating by improving the line of sight of the patrolling enemies. In the first game, enemies could only see in straight lines, but in Metal Gear 2, however, they created the 45-degree vision cone, something that you see a lot in video games today. Metal Gear Solid. The game that helped define a console. It was released on the original PlayStation in 1998. A full reminiscing video of the game can be found in the cards of this video, so go check it out. It was revolutionary in so many ways and shipped more than 6 million copies. It didn't do too badly critically either, receiving a killer Metacritic score of 94 out of 100. Arguably, the biggest change was that it was in 3D, which created an entirely new dimension for the developers. In order to get their minds around the complexity of the level design, they built a lot of the stages out of Lego. That and more facts about Metal Gear can be found in the top right hand corner of this video in the card, so go check them out. Around the time of the release of Will Smith's Millennium, you know that was a good time, the public got introduced to Metal Gear Ghost Babel on the Game Boy Color. It followed the two-dimensional formula of the first two Metal Gears, except that instead of static screens that move into new screens, something that game developers call flipper screen, the game could do a real-time scroll through an entire level. The direct sequel to Metal Gear Solid hit the PlayStation 2 in 2001. Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. Being about those tactics, Sons of Liberty introduced a first-person view for an added perspective when tackling different challenges, like targeting objects in the environment. In a bizarre turn of events and creative marketing, it wasn't revealed until the game's release that the main character you'd be playing wasn't Solid Snake, but Raiden. These guys are crazy, man. They do whatever they want. The GameCube saw the original Metal Gear Solid in the form of Metal Gear Solid The Twin Snakes in 2004. It was, for all intents and purposes, the original Metal Gear Solid, just with a couple of gameplay tweaks along the lines of Sons of Liberty. Set in 1964, the oldest game to date in the Metal Gear chronology, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater was released on the PlayStation 2. It was set during the Cold War, and for the most part it was set in a jungle. So the game focused on camouflage, close quarters combat, and an intense self-medicating injury and treatment system. The camouflage system was incredible and turned the concept of stealth into a whole new challenge, using the forest landscape as your hiding place, in plain sight. Did you know that Metal Gear was once a card collectible game on the PSP? Yeah, it was, and it was a turn-based game as well. Every card was available with the game, so from the get-go, and you could multiplayer using 2 PSPs wirelessly. It was Hearthstone before Hearthstone was a thing, which was probably Magic the Gathering before Magic the Gathering. Yeah. A sequel to Metal Gear Acid was released the following year in 2005 on the PSP and had an improved cel-shaded engine. Quite possibly my favorite part of these games was that they were referred to as stealth card games. I mean, like everywhere that Snake went, stealth seemed to follow regardless. Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, as the name suggests, is another MGS on the PSP, but this time was the first one that's plot was considered canon. It went with the same signature gameplay of the primary console titles, and the story follows directly after Snake Eater in 1970. A standalone expansion of Portable Ops was released in 2007 called Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops Plus. For the Nokia N-Gage, yeah, that was a thing, that weird gaming-focused mobile phone that came out before smartphones, Metal Gear Mobile was released in 2008 at the 2008 International Mobile Gaming Awards. The game won a Grand Prix. If you're a big Metal Gear fan, 2008 will hold a special place in your heart. It was the year Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots was released. It was released exclusively on the PlayStation 3 and is one of the most critically acclaimed games on the platform with a Metacritic score of 94 out of 100. 94 out of 100! The game was set in the Middle East, 2014, as Snake is sent on his last mission to assassinate Liquid. Fun fact, it has the longest cutscene in a video game, clocking in at 71 minutes. That's longer than an average episode of Game of Thrones. Just slap bang in the middle of the game. Another PlayStation 3 exclusive, Metal Gear Online, was a multiplayer only spin-off from the Metal Gear series with a bunch of different game modes like Deathmatch and Team Deathmatch. Typical stuff. Unfortunately, the client was shut down in 2012. It looked like a really cool tactical game. An iOS game called Metal Gear Solid Touch was released in 2009 and is based on Guns of the Patriots. It was a third-person shooter with a lot of characters from the game like Laughing Octopus. Sneaking up on the PSP in the only way Solid Snake can do, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker was a unique game in the series because Hideo Kojima considered it his biggest game he's ever worked on. Strange considering he'd just come off production on Metal Gear Solid Guns of the Patriots. Available on both iOS and Android, Metal Gear Solid was released for free and was the last Metal Gear mobile game to be released at the date of creating this video. Metal Gear created a brand new word, combining revenge and vengeance by releasing Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Or does it mean that we're redoing Vengeance or something? Probably the biggest departure from the original games that Metal Gear has seen, Revengeance is more an action hack and slash game. It stood out for having an extremely advanced cutting system that allowed the player to cut through materials. Do you guys remember that E3 watermelon cutting demo that they did? Well, it's all about that. Acting as sort of a prologue for the Phantom Pain, Ground Zeroes was released in 2014 and introduced the new refined gameplay and mechanics. Although the game is pretty short, there was a lot of replayability and set the tone well for the Phantom Pain. It had 7 missions in total, and if you got to play the game, you would have gotten familiar with the changes that were implemented for the Phantom Pain. Finally, arguably the greatest Metal Gear game ever made, the Phantom Pain was released in 2015. Building on the core stealth gameplay of the previous tentpole releases, the Phantom Pain has added a host of new stuff. There's a more open world take on the environments that allows you to play it to your strengths. It's crazy, it's huge. Like whether or not you want to go in guns blazing or just sneak it up undetected. Everything you collect on the battlefield gets added to your oil rig back home called the Mother Base. Your Mother Base is where your army gets grown and research into new weapons and upgrades happens. It's finally here and it's awesome. Comment below with your favorite Metal Gear game. Don't forget to check out the cards in the top right hand corner of this video to see more Metal Gear related stuff. Smash that like button and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in another video. High five a stranger. Adios.